Hey, good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. This video will be about different paths into the game industry. What my path was, what I think the best path to take is, and what you could do if you think you want to join the games industry. So let's just jump right into it. There are a million ways to get into the games industry, none of them which are particularly easy, mind you, but I'll oversimplify it and boil it down to around three general paths that I've seen people take. I won't talk much about networking in this video. Honestly, networking could take up an entire video as there's so much to talk about. But as a quick mention though, networking is a vital part of all of these paths. While you are trying to get into the games industry, you should be constantly forging relationships and connecting to your peers, people in the industry, who are people too. You could talk to them, they might respond back. You don't have to be too scared, as well as people less experienced than you. When you have the knowledge, you should help those out that are still learning. The first path, which we're just going to jump right into, which is the path that I took, was the game college after high school route. In my senior year of high school, I was accepted to my first choice college for a game degree, and I went. I had my summer vacation, then I went to college. And I'll probably do a video at some point about what game college is like and what you can expect, at least based off of my experiences, because there's a whole bunch to unfold there as well. Overall, I did very well at my college. And upon graduating, I was one of the few graduates who was able to get hired right out of the gate, and especially from design. I was the only designer I knew who, for months after graduating, had a design job. And that was a combination of hard work, which I did a lot of, uh, networking, which I did well as well. I'm a pretty social person. I was able to find some good relationships, which I benefited from, and a bit of luck. I can't help but feel like a little bit of luck was on my side, which is how the cards were dealt overall. So while this path sounds straightforward, it was not easy, and it left me with more than $200,000 in student loans. So there's ups and downs to this path, as you can tell. However, I can confidently say that college was, without a doubt, the best experience of my life, and I so often just think about the memories that I have, and I want to relive those times. I wish I can go back in time. I miss everyone a lot, but fantastic time. Not for It won't be for everyone, but for me, it was the best time of my life. So the second path, which is the polar opposite, is essentially self-improvement. Essentially, on your own, become good enough to get hired into the games industry. This is very rare. I only know one person at my studio, as far as I know, who has followed this path. And is extremely challenging for a number of reasons, which we'll get to right now. So, firstly, not everyone, especially not myself, has the self-drive and self-motivation in order to drastically improve at a craft without any clear and guided directions, without any guidance. It is very difficult for me. I think I would have needed to go to college, and it's definitely tough to, on your own, learn skills and get good at them enough to become a professional. Especially in a degree or in a field that is so creative, where there's really no clear boundary for if you are good enough or not. Imposter syndrome is a real thing. Every artist I know thinks that they're awful at art. So it is super difficult without a network of people to help motivate you and guide you through learning. Secondly, most large studios ask you on the job application to have a formal education, to have a degree in a field related to games, whether it be a game design degree or a computer science degree or a game art degree. This is a little bit less important for game artists, as you can very quickly figure out if an artist is good enough by simply looking at their art station. Art is a visual medium, and within 10 and 20 seconds, you could answer the question: is this person good enough, hard skill wise? Can we invite them for an interview? Just by looking at their art station for a few seconds, which is something that you can't really do with game design, programming, or production, or anything like that. So not having a formal education puts you at a significant disadvantage when compared to other applicants that have a formal education on their degree, as well as potential algorithms that might just not get your resume seen without any formal education. I don't know if any of those exist, but it's a possibility. So while not impossible, this path is extremely difficult, even when compared to getting into the games industry normally. The third path, which is my recommended path, is a bit of a hybrid between the two. This path boils down to both completing classes in community college and getting some credits in general education, while also pursuing game development on the side. And while I do say on the side, it is something that you should be putting dozens of hours into each week. Because at the end of the day, if you're not putting in those extra hours each week, somebody else will, and that somebody else will take the job from right out under your feet. This path has some other challenges, which I'll get to in a few minutes, but the reason it is my favorite, it is because it's the most flexible of all. And what I mean by flexible is that there are multiple outcomes that could come from this path, which are all pretty positive in terms of discovering and advancing yourself as a person. And let's talk about those real quick. So firstly, you have the potential to improve yourself to the point where you can get hired into the games industry without actually going to a game school. You can essentially do path 2 for free, TM, not really. It'll be difficult, but if you pull it off, you could save hundreds of thousands of dollars in tuition. Secondly, if you do end up going to a game-related school, or getting a game-related degree, you could still potentially save tens of thousands, if not more, in tuition by transferring credits from your community college. This mostly applies to US education. I'm not exactly sure how this process would work outside of the US because I'm not from outside the US. But at the end of the day, my Science 101 class, which was required for my degree, cost the exact same as my game programming classes or my game design classes or graphics, whereas I could have taken that Science 101 class, for a fraction of the cost at a community college instead. A challenge here, though, is that transferring credits can be difficult. Maybe not all of your credits can transfer, but if you do join a class as a sophomore or a junior, there is the added layer of social difficulties that you might encounter. You have a group of people who have all been together since they were freshmen, and it can be difficult to acclimate to join, that group of people. It is something that you do in the industry regardless. If you join a studio, you'll know probably no one. So it is good practice regardless for both parties, but it can still be a difficult social dynamic, especially if you're not a social person. Thirdly, and this is a big one, you may discover while on this path of improvement that you don't actually want to pursue game development. A lot of people have this idea of what they think game development is, and when they actually get into it and when they start learning, they realize that it doesn't match this ideal image that they had in their head and is actually not something that they're interested in pursuing, which is completely okay, and it is a completely real thing. I remember having a roommate drop out after 2 semesters of college, and most of what he did, instead of doing classwork or being passionate about his craft, was play League of Legends and or Smash Brothers. And all I could do is feel bad that he and his family spent more than $50,000 on nothing. He left the school with some game credits that he probably couldn't transfer. Maybe he has a few credits he could transfer to a different school, but for the most part, he spent $50,000 and got nothing out of it. If you start learning before you enter a school, you can avoid this just by simply realizing whether or not you want to actually continue pursuing game development. You could save yourself a lot of time and money that I saw a lot of people lose in game school. Alright, those were the 3 paths, and that was a lot, so let's do a quick recap. Firstly, first path is full college right out of high school. After you graduate high school, go into a game-related college, graduate that game-related college, and start applying or have been applying throughout that process, and hopefully get into the industry. Second path is completely on your own, use resources online, which there are so many of those. There is enough resources to become good enough at your craft to get hired, and it all comes down to you as an individual. Are you capable of doing that? but it is extremely difficult. And Path 3, which is a bit of a hybrid of getting some credits out of community college that you could potentially transfer to a game college or another college if you decide that games aren't something you're actually interested in. But overall, it is super flexible with how your life advances at that point. Keep in mind, though, that getting into the industry is extremely difficult, no matter which path you take. And this is all from my experience. Other people might have slightly different experiences, so definitely get a lot of info from a lot of different places. Getting your foot in the door can be, and will be, very frustrating, even if you start as QA or an intern. But once you get in, you're in. Thank you so much for watching. You can catch my streams at twitch.tv/godlikeonline, where you could talk to me personally, interact with me live, ask me any questions you have. Link is in the description. I would appreciate a follow there, and a like and subscribe here if you haven't already, so you can help me keep doing what I love. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day, evening, night, whatever it happens to be. Cheers.